Good evening. I'm calling to order the zoning subcommittee meeting of Monday, March 21st, 2022. We'll all rise and salute the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Madam Clerk.
Roll call of the members of the zoning subcommittee. Councilor Fiore.
Here.
Here. Councilor McKenna.
Here.
Here. Councilor Novoselsky.
Here.
Here. Councilor Sereno is absent. Council President Visconti.
Here.
Here. And Chairman Keefe.
Here.
Here. Quorum is present.
Thank you.
First item on the agenda is a proposed zoning change to the HB zoning district relative to automotive truck rental office storage use.
Thank you. And I see that we have a few members in our audience to speak on this, and also for the edification of the viewing audience and some of the council members, everyone's packet, there should have been some updates on some of the information that will be shared tonight, but also just some potential changes that the applicant has made to their presentation, but I'll let them speak for that. Sir, name and address for the record.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Attorney Nick Zazula, McDermott, Quilty, and Miller, 28 State Street, Suite 802 in Boston, zoning and permitting attorney for Enterprise Rent-A-Car Company of Boston, LLC. With me tonight, to my right, is Doug Valeri, who's Group Operations Manager from Enterprise Rent-A-Car. Mr. Chair, I know this has been in front of the council a few times, but just to give a brief overview, we did provide a packet of information ahead of time to try and address some of the issues and questions that did come up at the February 28th City Council meeting hearing. But in essence, under the zoning ordinance in the Highway Business District, an automotive truck rental office and storage use is not permitted at all. So the proposal in front of the subcommittee tonight involves a change to that zoning ordinance to amend and allow this use throughout the city's highway business districts by special permit only. Again, not asking to change it to as of right, but via a special permit with very specific conditions and restrictions. The subcommittee may know this, but currently the use is allowed by special permit in the city of Revere only in the TED and the PDD1 zoning districts. So as part of the amendment that's in front of the subcommittee tonight, Enterprise is proposing some specific conditions and restrictions that would go into the zoning ordinance along with this amendment, and those are found on tab 1. It'd be the very first page under the cover sheet that we did provide to the City Council. Very briefly, there are 6 of them. Allowed vehicles would be limited to a weight limit of 8,000 pounds. As we had indicated previously at our City Council hearing, that's akin to a maximum of an F-150, a light-duty pickup truck. No heavy trucks, et cetera. And that was reduced from our original application, which had 10,500 pound limit. So we've minimized that further. Vehicle capacity will be limited to 50 vehicles on site at any one time. Minimum lot size was increased to 25,000 square feet. So there will be a maximum vehicle capacity as well as a minimum lot size as well. That is 25,000 square feet, which is about 0.57 acres. The previous application had it a half acre, so we increased the lot size. It has to be even bigger now. No stacking of vehicles will be allowed on site. No repair, maintenance, or body work will be allowed on site. And any applicant would have to agree to install and provide substantive screening and buffering on the site as well. So as a few updates, as Mr. Chairman mentioned, we went to the Planning Board on March 1st for our second go-round. The Planning Board, again, unanimously voted to favorably recommend this approval, just like they did the first time. We also recall that at the February 28th City Council hearing on this reapplication, there were some questions and confusion, probably somewhat on our end, on some of the issues and concerns that came up with regard to the application. Specifically with regard to the application and the ownership of the property, spot zoning and the applicability of spot zoning to this request, as well as Enterprise's commitments and benefits to the city of Revere, not only currently, but what would be proposed if they were allowed to move to the site via special permit down the line during the process. So what we've tried to do and what we've attempted to do is provide a packet of information ahead of time to allow the subcommittee as well as the full city council the ability to review in writing to clear up any misunderstanding on these issues that maybe were not clearly addressed back on February 28th. And I'll wrap up by just saying you will see on tab 4, we put in writing the commitment and benefits to the city of Revere. One thing I would like to highlight is that new information, and we did not have this information at the February 28th City Council hearing, is that Enterprise has put, again, in writing in the packet, a commitment to register 350 of its rental fleet vehicles in the city of Revere, along with their accompanying current excise, along with those excise taxes that would come with registering those 350 vehicles in relation to this proposed new location at 85 Squire Road, if approved. Now, that was not included in our initial application. I will defer to the subcommittee and to the city as to how we could include that in the application or to the conditions. We are happy to do that. This is in addition to continuing to pay the Massachusetts parking surcharge per rental transaction, as well as continuing to pay the City of Revere surcharge of $10 per rental transaction. That is the 350 vehicles would roughly equate to somewhere north of $200,000 a year at 350 vehicles. Now, that fluctuates depending on the age of the vehicle, how old the vehicle is and things like that. But Enterprise strives to keep its fleet current, and my understanding is the newer the car, the more excise tax you pay. And that's what we have done our math, and that's what we've put into the packet that we provided. So I know that's a lot of information. I will sum up and just say that, we believe, Enterprise believes that this type of use in the highway business district is reasonable and appropriate, specifically connected with these conditions and restrictions that we've put in writing in the application for any future proposed use in the highway business district. We would suggest that it's contextually appropriate and in line with the highway, commercial, and regional business district. Whether or not there's a vision for Squire Road or not, we believe that with these conditions and restrictions, that this would fit in with what's there now in the highway business district, the retail uses, commercial uses, hospitality uses, and things like that. We think this would be a good fit, and that's what we would like to impress upon the subcommittee. So that was a long runway, but I wanted to provide those updates. We're happy to answer any questions you might have, provide more clarifications, but we wanted to make sure we provided that additional information in writing as an update from a few weeks ago. So thank you.
Thank you for your explanation. I know that a few councils here, and I assume some councils came in to specifically speak on this agenda item, so I guess I'll open it up to anyone on the council that had any questions or comments in regards to some of the updates, or any questions for the applicants. Anyone from the zoning board first? Council Novoselsky.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, while reviewing this, now, we're only talking tonight about changing the ordinance. We're not talking about giving the special permit as yet. They have to come back in for that. So that's when your excise tax and other things that will be given to the city will come up. Right now, we're just talking about, the property. One thing I've been looking at and thinking about is park and fly. I want to make sure that these businesses, not necessarily them, that they don't have a park and fly posted, use for that property. So I think I would like to see a number 7 added on to that there shall be no park and fly availability. Okay, and I hope that works for you guys. Okay, good. So, that'll be part of the ordinance now. So then when we come in when you come back for the special permit, then we'll talk about the other things. But, I reviewed this and I found that there's only maybe 2 other HB locations that could be potential sites for this particular use. And they're both on Squire Road. So they're not, I had a couple HB sections, areas in my neighborhood that I was concerned about, but they're not eligible in those because the spaces are too small. Less than 25,000, so, at this point, I would have no problem with this ordinance being passed as is with the one amendment. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other zoning subcommittee members? No? Councilor Visconti, Council President Visconti.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Couple questions. It looks like you're basing your 200+ thousand on about an excise tax of roughly about $570 per vehicle. Is that ballpark? Is that that's number one?
Doug Valeri, 298 Thompson Road, Webster, Mass. Yeah, it fluctuates with the fleet. Right now, our fleet's older because we cannot get stock in.
Your fleet is
older.
older. When you say
because,
older, how old?
3 years instead of, we usually turn over every 2 years. We turn our fleet over.
Okay, what's your average, let me ask you,
Sure.
what's your average excise tax bill right now, rather than the future?
Right now,
Because if you're telling me that your fleet is older, okay, and we're going on anticipated new fleet, well, that's not accurate. So let's go on what is accurate.
well, it depends on the value of the vehicle. And
I understand
It's
that.
hard for me to put a number on it standing here. I could
Well,
get that.
you guys already did. You put a $200,000 number.
Right, well, and that's an estimated number, that's not a, like, hey, but
Okay.
If we're saying we're gonna register 350 vehicles, our vehicles can range from $50,000 to $30,000, so.
I'm aware of that.
So
No,
in
I
that
understand
range.
that. You just threw out 200, like, okay, the city's getting 200,000.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to make it aware that that's not actually the case. I want to get some actual figures is what I was looking at. So, based on a $570 excise tax. That's number one, and you've already answered that, so I appreciate that. I first want to say I appreciate the packet. The packet was very good. I think it was well-informed. I do have some questions. The mass parking surcharge, how much is that the city of Revere is getting? I actually don't have that number. And the outstanding, the $10 surcharge on a monthly basis, on a per car basis, I believe ends when the new police station is fully paid for, if I'm not mistaken. I said that, so it doesn't go indefinitely. Correct me if I'm wrong. You don't know that?
I don't know that.
I think that is the case, So so the $10 surcharge doesn't, and I think it equates to approximately about $100,000, okay? But that stops, from what I'm gathering, once the police station, I'm sorry, thank you, Counselor, the public police station, fire station ends. So that's my understanding on that. And I guess and I know you guys came back in the past, obviously in last year, and I had some reservations back then, okay, sitting on the council, and it doesn't change today, and that's really my concern is opening up that area, okay, and while it looks like a nice done-out property, the way you've scoped it, and architected it, it looks nice. I just don't feel comfortable opening up other companies, giving them the ability to do that over there on that block. And that's really my hiccup here with that. I don't want you guys to leave. I think you provide a service to the city that is needed, okay? I just question that area where it does open up other concerns, other companies to go ahead and do the same, and that's something that I don't feel comfortable with in that area. I envision something a little different there. So that's my hesitation and my reservations. With that being said, I still have a concern about it. So it's the other concern I have is I know you're going to register 350 cars. How do we police that? Does anybody know How do we know that that's actually going to be the case after we give you the permit? And, you know, I don't know. I voted on it. I'm all done with it. So how is it going to get policed as far as I'm concerned? So those are some of the questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, sure. Attorney Suzu?
Zazula, yeah, thank you. A lot of Z's in there. Zazula, you got it, yeah. Yeah, it's okay. Thank you, Council President Visconti. You know,
Doesn't look like it's an end date on the surcharge on the glasses.
so, gee, I think you brought up three main points, Council President Visconti. I think the first one is the stopping the, for the surcharge. We can look into that further and make sure we understand that, so we're not giving you false information. It's our understanding that there is no end to the effective date, but we'll look, okay, this is, I don't, thank you. We can look into that, and make sure we have a solid answer on that. It was not meant to mislead, that was our understanding, so we can look into that. The other point, that was made about not feeling comfortable with, again, opening it up to other companies, I think that was to other uses that weren't in line with what we are proposing and with the amendment. I think that's the purpose of these restrictions, is to not allow that to happen, right? To have it be for a specific use in a specific way. That building that's there now was formerly a Verizon Wireless. We are not proposing to make that building any bigger, taller, wider, et cetera. We're going to, Enterprise's proposal would be, when we get to the special permit, if we get to the special permit process, would be to move right into that space the way it is now. They were looking to reconfigure it a little bit, but the building is not going to get bigger, wider, taller. It's going to fit right into where it is there. And I think that's an important piece here. Again, that goes to the special permit, as Councilor Novoselsky had brought up, but I think that is important to bring up because you did raise a good concern. I think that's why these conditions that we worked so hard on with the planning board to get to this point was to try and mollify those concerns. It may not have worked, but that was the point of those conditions, was to say, anybody who even wants to do this, let's say there's Nick's Rent-A-Car, right? We would have to come back to the board, no matter what, for a special permit. It's not allowed by right. So we would have to come back here and you could say, no, this doesn't, you didn't agree to this, or this is too big, or, you can say no. So this isn't, I think, my hope would be that we would be able to understand that you saying yes to the amendment would just allow people to apply for a special permit. It wouldn't allow people just to come in under the cover of night and open up a park and fly, right? Anybody who came in the future would have to come through the same process, come to you, just like we're doing. We just happen to be the first one, and we're asking for the amendment. We still have to come back and do a special permit process. So it's a little bit of a distinction without a difference, I get it. But I do think we tried really hard with the planning board to be flexible, to input these restrictions that would help guard against that. But again, whether or not you agree with that, we understand, but that was the intent. So thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Fiore?
Mr. Chairman, I'm pleased to hear that we've gone from 0 commitment to 350 commitment of excise tax vehicles. I know that's not the issue here tonight, and rather it's not the issue the special permit is, but if I may, through you to the city clerk, if somebody is in violation of a special permit, what recourse does the city council have?
It's the building inspector would need to enforce the conditions of the special permit.
And would the city council have the ability to revoke the special permit?
No, that's through the building inspector.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Fiore. Councilor Cogliandro, before I go to Councilor Cogliandro, just want to remind, I think we're very clear that if this is a change, in fact, yes, you would still have to come in front of us for a special permit. Yeah, you've made the point. It's a good point, but thank you. Councilor Cogliandro.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So I feel like a lot of the concerns that the council has had throughout this process have been addressed and either explained or corrected by Enterprise. I don't believe it's spot zoning. The property owner is part of the application. The excise tax issue is now solved. They're going to register 350 cars. So, I want to get into the vision aspect that everyone keeps talking about. which is, I heard some good ones, restaurant, brewery, other developers coming in. There was mentioned by one of the counselors about the hotel that went in where the old car wash was. I share that vision. I would love to see those businesses come to Squire Road. I truly would. But the problem that I'm having with this is that we've had a Sozio lot that burned down and has been vacant for 4 years. We have the Papagino's lot, which they went out of business 5 years ago. We were promised a La Quinta hotel, and we haven't put one shovel in the ground. The Verizon building, the old Burger King location, has been empty now, I don't know, at least over a year. So it's not that I don't see your vision, because I do, because I would love that to come here. But it's not fair to say no, because we're going to sit here and wait for these other businesses to come here. They've done so much work to get approved. They've been approved by the planning board. They've answered everyone's questions. And I know people still have concerns, but this business already exists here. And I don't think they're doing anything malicious. They didn't know the $10 surcharge might end. They provide, I heard that someone say they provide a service to this community. They do. And Councilor Novoselsky made a great point. There's the only other 2 locations this could possibly go is on Squire Road. And again, and this has been mentioned so many times, we can say no. We can say no. But why stop a business from going in there right now? That's what I don't understand. They want to bring that area up. And if we want other businesses to come there in the future, maybe we need to have a business go in there and revamp the area like this. They're willing to do whatever's necessary. They've proven that. They've been here since before I was sworn in. So, which isn't that long, but still. At the end of the day, I believe we should make this change because we can control what goes there still within reason. And I am obviously I'm voting yes for this. And thank you for the leeway, Mr. Chairman.
Not a problem. Any other councilors wish to speak? Councilor Silvestri.
Thank you, Councilor. And I am not on the zoning board, but I share Councilor Cogliandro's same sentiment. We have a business that's been in the city for a very long time. We have a business that is willing to bend over backwards to meet every question or answer that we have. My thing is, if the $10 surcharge does go away when the police station is done, is there a way to put it in writing that you'll continue that while the business is still in Revere? Also, can we put in writing that the 350 cars that get put into the city will stay registered and insured into the city, and maybe even put in a stipulation where every 2 years when the cars roll over, those newer cars have to come into the city and be rolled over within the city. And if you're willing to put that on writing, I don't see why this board would willing to deny that. As Councilor Cogliandro has said, we have several vacant lots on that road as neighbors. We have a barn car wash, which is a great business, but the barn car wash wraps cars from one end of Squire Road to the next, and no one says boo about it. And we're going to stop an enterprise that has been a great business in this city for many years to come in and revamp a shut-down old site because, why? That's all.
Thank you, Councilor. Did you wish to speak? Did you want to go? You do?
Well, are we allowed to, can we just?
Yeah, absolutely. Please,
before
please do so.
Mr.
And then
Zambudo comes
anyone
up
in the
if we could.
audience wish-
Just because there was some, again, I think that would go to the special permit aspect, Councilor Silvestri, but I think we would absolutely, I mean, we didn't think that the $10 ended, so.
Right, well, and I don't know if we can make it up by way of paying $10 per transaction, but I think we could make it up in excise money, yes, to your question. So if we paid X amount in excise, I mean, I'm sorry, If we paid, say, $100,000 in those excise fees, then yes, we could put it in excise tax.
So I think in a nutshell, we would be willing to work with the city throughout whatever means are possible legally through the special permit to make those conditions be part of any approval if approved. And we'll commit to that.
And I'm pretty certain that, again, if this was something, we could add those into those conditions. But thank you for validating that. Anyone in the audience wishing to speak? Anybody? Anybody else? Okay. Councilor Zambudo.
Anthony Zambudo, 87 High Street, Revere. It's been a little bit of a distraction here, and there's been some change of attitude, and, you know, we all know the council voted 11-0 because we had a different vision from this, for this use. A couple of things. I spoke while I was sitting down because I was so agitated because there are laws on the books, and you can ask the city clerk about the law that expires when the public safety facility is paid off. Special legislation that we got for that purpose, only for that purpose. And in answer to the council to the right, you cannot just say you're going to surcharge people willy-nilly after the law is expired. It's not doable. Again, I'm distracted from my main point. The vision was other areas. Now, you know, I've heard rumors that the administration is pushing this. But I went to the State of the City address, and that's not what the mayor said his vision was for Squire Road. So I'm very confused. I believed what he said that night. And evidently, if the rumors are true that he's pushing this, it just doesn't jive. So, yeah.
Chair, I mean, this is very like, do you have a point, Counselor? Because the point you're making is kind of a blow on, you know? You're coming up here talking about.
Counselor, this is my meeting. I'll address that. Counselor, have some respect for the chair, though. If you're upset with him, have some respect for the chair. Please, and thank you. I was going to address that, but yes, please. I'll let him, he got a few minutes. Take your time, but yes, I'll just address that one piece. You know, be careful, because you're talking to me as well. And I'm up here, and I have my own voice. Okay? Thank you. And I'll let you move on, but can you get to your point?
I apologize if anybody was offended by that. I just found it,
well, you're saying, you're repeating potential rumors. You know better than that,
yeah,
Counselor.
all right. Okay.
Just get to the point.
I appreciate that, and I shouldn't, but I took something from that State of the City address as fact. As, you know, I thought it was good, and I thought it was factual. And so I just throw that out there as if those rumors were true. Maybe they're not true. So,
Point of inquiry.
State your point.
Can we just please get to the point, please?
listen, I know you don't like what I have to say,
It's
Counselor.
not about, I don't take any of this personally, Mr. Zambudo, but
Okay.
your attitude is out of line today.
Okay, gentlemen, thank you all. Let's all be above this. Councilor Zambudo, can you
Okay.
just, we understand, I assume you're not in favor.
Yeah, I'm certainly not in favor, and for all the reasons that we were all not in favor, 11 of us in November, that same reason, for that vision of Squire Road. And I'm told that that hotel is still being built right next door at Papagino's. Unless I have bad information, I heard it hasn't gone away, and it's
On this item.
okay. Well, I mean, on this item,
You were the president, you know where I'm coming from.
Squire
Just
Road
please.
is Squire Road
you.
is Squire Road, and that's and the biggest part, the biggest problem with allowing this zoning change is right next door is Sozio's, and you know that's the abutter, and that's what happens here. I really don't believe it's even possible to enforce the 350 cars being registered in the city, if there's a way to do that, but that's not part of this zoning anyway. That's part of a special permit if the zoning was changed. For all the reasons before, I'm still against this. I think it's the wrong direction for the city to open up highway. And as far as me not wanting to see Enterprise, I've been trying to help them locate to other places. I've given them some properties. There are some TED places that they can go to. Furlong Drive is one of them. There are others out there, but
Thank you.
That's it.
All right,
Thank
we'll
you.
wrap that up. Thank you, Counselor. Counselor McKenna.
Thank you, Mr.
And then maybe I'll
Chairman.
get a moment of speech, so to speak, you know.
I just want to answer Mr. Zambuto's, what he said. Yes, the mayor did say that in his address, that he has a vision for Squire Road. And I'd just like to say that Revere Beach was parking lots, empty lots, since 1978, when the blizzard of 78 came and wiped everything out. So, and look at the vision that this city has had, the mayor has had for Revere Beach. It's beautiful. So I too have a vision for Squire Road, and I would like to see it. And I think you have a great, wonderful, enterprise. But I just can't see, I think we're opening up a can of worms, and I just feel that if we give it to you, then we're going to get a bunch of other companies that are going to come in and try to do the same thing. So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. And I'll make a few brief comments and explain to everyone, more importantly, where I'm at and why. But I also do want to bring up, I'm the zoning chair, and I can tell you that, where I stand on this is, if the so-called administration was pushing this, they certainly didn't push me, and they certainly haven't given me any sort of inclination on where they stand. And so that's just, as a friend and a former colleague, I just want to make sure that you understand that. But it's upsetting to hear that. But what I want to say is, when we come into zoning and ordinance changes, they're very important. So I need to feel compelled when you want to change something that's been written into the standards of our city for years. Yes, there is reason for change. Sometimes, of course, we're always going to evolve. But I need to feel extremely passionate about wanting to change things in order, thinking it's for the best possible use. It's for the best possible business. Just because, I don't usually vote just because it's not something else, I usually vote because of what it is. So that's usually the merits on why I would want to be in favor of something. The people from Enterprise have been very nice and, very professional. Thank you, and I appreciate what you've brought to us. And I really hope that you're able to find a suitable business if you have to move from your location. I won't be in favor of changing the zoning and an ordinance change on that area, because I too agree that I think it could open a can of worms. And when it comes to, I love the fact that we have the ability to vote via special permit, but I also vote consistently. So if I vote to approve you, how am I going to tell the next guy that brings the same good proposal no? So I'd have to continue to vote yes on those similar proposals, they're offering the same tax revenue, offering the same, landscaping and business site. So I will not be in favor of this tonight. I'm happy to vote on it tonight. I know that the councils have all spoken. And remember, there's 11 of us, ultimately. The zoning will recommend what they came with, and then all 11 of us will have a chance, potentially at the next meeting, to say what they have to say, and that's where we'll end up. So just wanted to make sure everyone understood that that's where I stood. Councilor Fiore.
I think some people have some reservations. I would ask that the matter be tabled this evening. On the motion.
I have no problem with that. You're a member of our subcommittee. We can table this to the next meeting, next zoning subcommittee meeting. Okay. All in favor? Aye. Table to the next zoning subcommittee meeting, which, Madam Clerk, is it the 28th?
No, that's our next regular meeting,
Yeah.
but there's Ways and Means at 5 o'clock already.
All right. So it will not be the 28th, but there's a good chance it will be the following meeting in April, our first April meeting. Next item, Madam Clerk.
Next item on the agenda is special permit C 2201. On behalf of Broadway Capital, CDPM, requesting a special permit from the City Council of the extension and alteration of a nonconforming structure and use to enable the appellant to convert a former nursing home to a 72-unit mixed-use development consisting of 71 residential units and 1 office at 133 Salem Street.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. And we have... How you doing, Mr. Vino?
I'd just like to-
Name and address for the record?
932 Broadway, Chelsea, Mass.
Thank you.
And I'd like to, I have a presentation to share. Is that okay if I? All right. Thank you.
Go ahead, Mr. Vino.
Okay. So tonight I'll be addressing the 133 Salem Street Development Project. We did come in front of City Council a few weeks back now, and you know, part of that was basically just to introduce the project. Tonight I'll be going a little bit more detail about some of the feedback that we received after our neighborhood meetings. So let me jump into this presentation. I know we hit this last time, but I'll go a little bit over what we do and where we operate. So we're based out of Chelsea. We've been in business for over a decade now. And our main focus is really on acquisition, construction, and property management. So those are kind of the 3 arms of our business. We do have other properties that we own along the North Shore, not just in Chelsea, Beverly, Swampscott, Lynn, et cetera. But really our focus is tonight on development and talking about what we really do. And our projects that we currently have in development are all owner-occupied projects. So we did one at 932 Broadway, which was a former nursing home, and we have 2 other projects we're currently underway. One is at 25 2nd Street, and then we also have one at 163 Chestnut in Chelsea. Both are owner-occupied. One's 20 units, the other one's 30 units. So we have, I guess, experience on similar-sized developments. So to get into this project, some of the changes, or one of the major changes that we made from our last proposal was we increased the total number of parking spots.
Excuse me, is the,
Oh, it's not.
are they supposed to be,
Oh, it's not seeing.
it hasn't moved,
Let me see if I can.
just to let you know. I wasn't sure if it was
Yeah, no, I
supposed to get
was
started.
going through the slides. On my computer, it's coming through. Doesn't appear to be on the, let me see. Let me try to plug this in and take it out and plug it back in. Just, yeah. All right, oh, here we go. There we go. Okay. So I can just go back. Just on the other slides, this is just a picture of the development that we had we did at 932 Broadway, where our office is located. So that's the one right on Broadway. So I know you maybe can't see this, but one of the areas one of the changes that we made to our initial proposal, and this was based on, feedback from the council, but also feedback from the neighborhood, is that we increased the total number of parking spots, off-street parking spots, by 22. So now we went from, I believe it was 81 to 103 total parking spots. So how we're going to accomplish that is by essentially finishing right now there's a wooded area on the parking lot across from where the nursing home's located. And that wooded area we plan to pave and add the additional 22 spots on that side. So that was one of the, I guess, improvements that we made from our last presentation. Another proposal, or one of the ideas that came up and would be open to feedback here, is including a entranceway to the bike path at the end of Wade Park. So right now, that area is kind of overgrown, it's collecting a lot of trash, so what we're proposing is having a bike path with an on-ramp that we would construct as part of this project as an entryway to the bike path. So that was one of the other ideas that came up that would be, receptive to. And then additional benefits that we talked about. So we estimated about $3,500 per unit in real estate tax, which equates to about $250,000 per year in real estate tax. And then on top of that, you'd also have the excise tax from the 102 cars that would be parked at the site. And again, the main focus here is owner occupancy. So this isn't going to be a rental building. Again, this is an owner-occupied condominium project. And as far as affordability goes, this was really one that we thought about. We would like to add 2 affordable units. That's where kind of our starting point is, but we would be open to feedback from the council. So those 2 affordable units would be preference to potentially Revere residents. We may also give a military preference as well. And those we're proposing at 80% AMI. What we found on our other developments, at 60 and 50 or 40 AMI, it gets tricky to find a buyer that can sort of fit that criteria. So what we'd propose is 2 units at 80 AMI. That's what we're thinking right now. But again, we'd be open to, further discussion. And as we mentioned before, we'd do some infrastructure improvements, particularly at the bike path entrance. And then some of the other items we can hit on. The first one is that shadow impact, where we did a shadow study. And I guess the take-home message is we sort of looked at it as is the building and then with the addition of the 4th level. And there's minimal impact in the summer months, and there's more of an impact in the winter months. But in general, it's not a major. The feedback that we got from the neighborhood was that, yeah, this was good. We wanted to see this, and it didn't really have a major impact on the overall shading of the abutters. That was one of their concerns. The other one, and I don't know if this got distributed, was the traffic study. So the traffic study was conducted by TEC. Sort of the take-home message on that, yes, it will increase the amount of vehicles traveling that route. However, the impact is minimal, and some of the mitigation or safety concerns we would address would be, one, sort of the visibility and the viewpoint when you're coming out of the parking lot there, because there's a bend. Take down the fence that's in the front, remove any shrubbery to give line of sight when you're pulling out of the parking lot at that location, because that's one of the major concerns. And then also potentially adding a crosswalk and a traffic flow sign where the traffic exiting the parking lot in front of the nursing home would only go in one direction to avoid people coming in and out and potentially, creating additional congestion. So that was one of the other take-homes. And also maybe adding another light. I think there's a flashing yellow light there now. The potential would be to add maybe a solar light, some other type of flashing device just to warn when cars were exiting the parking lot. So those are sort of the 3 take-homes. But I believe you have the report if you want to. There's more detail, obviously, in the traffic.
We did receive the traffic report, the traffic study. It was pretty well done, and I was pleasantly surprised to see there really wasn't a huge adverse impact.
And then the noise study. So the abutters in the condominium, as the townhouses behind the property, one of their major concerns was noise and noise abatement. So we looked at the type of air conditioning systems we'll have at the property that we're proposing, which are these Mitsubishi Hyperheats, which are VRF system. They do heating and cooling. And they operate in the 55 to 72 decibel range, which is, basically the sound, the volume of like a television. And based on the height of the building, and we're going to have parapet walls along the roof. So those, we expect minimal impact in general to the noise of these units. Right now, they actually have the condensing units on the side of the building, kind of wrapped around on the first level. All these condensing units are on, and they don't have, I don't think there's many complaints right now of the noise. So these will actually be up another 40 feet and behind parapet walls, so it's, these new units aren't noisy at all. And then our trash management plan, this is another item that came up. So if you can see the yellow squares are where the dumpster currently is, and that would be, our plan would be to have a private pickup. We use Casella now, but we could be open to discussion using somebody else. And our initial plan will be to empty it 2 times a week, and if we see there's trash accumulation, we could go up to 3 or even 4 times a week. But initially, we'd start it twice a week on the trash pickup.
And just on that, you'd make sure that it worked within the timeframes that was good for a neighborhood after 7 a.m., before?
Yeah, we'd probably go
No.
for 10 a.m., 10 to
Okay,
noon time,
great.
somewhere in that time. And it would be a front-loading dumpster,
Good question.
so it would, yeah, I mean, we have it at 10 a.m. at our current location, so it would be between 10 and noon time, not at, 2 a.m. And then we would have a privacy fence. Our plan is to surround the dumpsters with a privacy fence and also have a security monitoring system for like dumping. Because that's what we've found is that even at our place now, at our office space, we have, dumping, illegal dumping at the dumpsters. So that's it. I think, again, we had our second neighborhood meeting at the Sheridan last week. Councilor Serino was there. And I think there was about 15 or 20 people from the neighborhood, and we were able to present this. And I think most, one of the concerns that came up, again, traffic was probably the biggest concern. That was like their number one question. They wanted the traffic study, which we distributed. So I sent it to Councilor Serino, and he distributed it through Facebook in the neighborhood groups. And then also,
Thank you. It looks like the clerk mentioned she did not get the traffic study. We did get it, but I think we got it directly through your consultant company, or Council Serino, correct? So if you could actually I'll have Council Serino forward that along. Other councils did get that.
Mr. Chairman,
correct?
if you don't mind, if we can have Michael and his staff just send it right over to the clerk's office.
That works.
So it can
All
get
right.
distributed right through the clerk's
And
office.
just also, Council Serino was not feeling well tonight, so he's not here. He did send over a list of potential questions and conditions. But before we got to that reading, I'd like to open it up to any other zoning subcommittee members. We have Council McKenna and Council Fiore. Council McKenna.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Michael, I have a couple of questions for you. How many houses are affected by the shadow study?
it was really the 2 on Waite Park. There's one that's like right adjacent to the building, and then the next one over, but.
Was it the woman that came and spoke about her pool being in the shadow, affected by the shadow?
I'm not sure if it was that woman, but
I
it's
know
the,
she lived on Wade Ave.
so if you look at, oh, it's not up now, but, yeah, you can see here. So like if you look in this corner, what they do is they look at it at the winter and summer solstice, so like June 21st, the shortest day of the year, or the longest day of the year, June 21st, and then December 21st, and then they do a comparison between, and they do it like at, 6 p.m., or 9 a.m., 12, noon time, and then 3 p.m. So in the upper here is the 3-story, and then down below, these 6 are with the additional 4th floor added. So you can see like, it's the shadow in this corner where the pointer is, you can't see the pointer, but in the upper left corner versus the one 2 down from it.
No.
There's a slight increase. But I'll send this presentation around. So
That'd
you
be
can get a better
great.
view of it.
I have more questions. So you said it's going to be owner occupied. Can the owner rent it?
The owner can rent it, but in the condo docs, in most condo docs, there's a maximum amount of units that can be rented. I think it's like 10%, but it will be rented, it will be noted in the condo doc. So like, otherwise, there's issues with people obtaining mortgages if too much of the building becomes rental. So we would address
Usually
it.
between 80 and 90% has to be owner occupied.
Yeah, exactly.
Correct.
Yeah. So maximum 10% I think that's what we have it at our condo.
So you can put that down as a condition or stipulation, in your condo docs that you draft up, there'll be 10%. No more than 10% of
Yes,
available rentals.
for rentals, yeah.
And how do you monitor that?
Well, like you said, they're condo docs, so basically, the buyer, if you bought a condominium, there's a certain amount, only up to 10% could rent them out. Once they hit that cap, the building management company doesn't allow it any longer,
Okay.
and then be out of compliance.
I have one more question.
Go ahead.
So, the area that you're in is conservation land. Do you abut that with, you abut the conservation land, the marsh?
Our property doesn't actually abut it. There's a property in between. It's owned by the Doherty family.
Okay, nothing in the back?
I don't believe so, no. It doesn't go back. It only goes about, if you look at the actual building footprint, it
I've
goes
never
about.
been there, so
There's
I,
another plot of land.
Yeah,
that's all back there.
that's not included. It's like a
Yeah.
2-acre plot.
okay,
It's not included, but that's owned by the Doherty family. And so if you look at the building footprint, the property line's about 15 to 20 feet off of
Back.
the back of the building.
okay. And that wooden area that you're taking out across the street, how many trees are you gonna cut down? Yep,
That's a good question, but I would say 2 or 3, but I think they're mostly dead. We can confirm, but there might be 2 or 3 dead trees on that site.
so is there only 2 or 3 dead trees that you're gonna take down, or you're gonna take down 40? How many trees is that?
No,
wooden-
no, not 40, no. I
Okay,
think,
so
we can do a
give me
tree
a
count, but
number.
I think there might be 2 or 3 on that parcel. But again, we have to look at it.
Okay,
I'm not sure.
so if you're gonna take down the trees, I'm asking if you'll replace those trees somewhere on your property or on the sidewalk, if you can?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they won't be the same size, of course, but.
No, of course.
We could kind of note it in the landscaping plan. I think
And the
that would
reason
be-
why I say that is because that area is rich with wildlife and eagles now, and hawks and all kinds of bird species, and so I'm just, concerned about the trees. We take down the trees, we don't put them back. So, that's all. And,
Counselor, if it's okay, if I could ask, before any final approvals, that they submit a landscaping plan that's acceptable to the council, is that?
Okay.
Counselor Fiori?
Through you to the clerk, do we still have a tree warden?
yes.
Yeah. It's called Joanne McKenna.
It's Paul Argenzio, tree warden.
Do we still have a clam warden? Okay. Irrelevant to this, but just informational. Anyways, I'm pleased to hear the number of parking spots has come up. Once again, for the edification of the board, how many 2-bedrooms and how many 1-bedrooms?
I want to say it was about 20% 2 beds, so
I had-
you have the
If
exact
I'm
number.
correct, it was 46 single and studio and 25 2-bedrooms.
Okay.
And what's the square footage?
They range. I mean, I think some of the smaller ones are in the 500 square foot range, the studios. And I think the 2 bedrooms go up to, I want to say like 850, 900 square feet.
Okay. And my major concern here is I understand something has to go there, and I'm pleased that we're talking condos, but the height restrictions. How many units are you talking on that upper level?
Right now, it's proposed at 17, so it would be the similar footprint to what's existing.
So we'd be talking 54 without that.
Yeah, it would be a significant reduction.
So at this time, that's my major concern, and it would, I'd have a hard time supporting it with that increased floor. Thank you.
Thank you. Counselor Visconti? Counselor
Yeah,
Visconti.
I have some questions. I know in the last meeting that you came in front of the council, there was some concerns about the wastewater backup, if I recall correctly. Are there any plans on remediating that problem, or how are you going to handle that problem with the existing, with the changeover? That's number one. But I also like the fact that you are including affordable units in there. I do question the amount of units, and I'd like to see a little bit more than that, above and beyond. In your previous projects, I'm concerned about the 80% AMI. That actually, I was thinking probably a little bit less than that. Your past projects, what were they at?
Yeah, in Chelsea, they require minimum of 20% at 80 AMI. So the ones that we're working on now are 20% of the units at 80 AMI.
Were they all done at 80 AMI, or
Yeah,
was it
so-
less? Did you have any other units that were less than that?
So owner-occupied units are at 80 AMI, like condominiums. If you do rentals, you have to scatter them between 40, 60, and 80. It's a
Agreed,
variation. Yeah, so we did all at 80, but we find, like I was saying, that sometimes to drop the affordability level to 60 or even 40, it's difficult to find a buyer that meets that criteria. Usually, we've had a very difficult time doing that.
I guess, help me understand that, because it's giving somebody the ability who doesn't earn, in the Revere AMI is probably a lot less than actually the state AMI number, if I'm not mistaken. How could that, if you're reducing the income, doesn't it open it up to a pool of people that doesn't earn
That's true,
as
but
much?
it's
is
tough to
what I'm
find someone
underst-
that meets, for example, the credit score or some of the other factors related to the obtaining a mortgage,
Yeah.
essentially.
Okay.
But it's, yeah, I mean, it's not impossible. It can be done. It
Yeah.
could be fine. Like, we could find someone that does meet that criteria, but we've typically seen at 80 AMI is where, is like the sweet spot for owner-occupied condominiums.
Okay. And I guess what else is there that I had? I'm sorry. The effect of affordability, opening it up to veterans, is there any appetite to open it up to seniors as well, or what is your preference?
Yeah, I think that's all on the table. Like
Is
I
that
said,
all on-
we can,
okay.
we can put it on the table.
Okay.
If, once we figure out how many units, then we can determine the preference. In most cases, first preference would go to Revere residents. So,
Yeah.
So most likely what would happen if we had, let's just say 2 or 3 affordable units, they would all go to Revere residents because we'd get more than 3 applicants. We'd probably get about 50 to 100 applicants just from Revere alone, potentially. So they will go to Revere residents. It's just a matter of, picking the preference. And that's something that'd be open. I mean, if we do, 1 military, preference, 1, senior preference, would be open to that.
Well, I like the fact that it's owner-occupied, number one. Number two, I really am concerned about the wastewater backup. And I'd like to talk to, maybe have the city engineer up here, as well as the director, the chief of infrastructure, to see what kind of impact it would have on the other community and the rest of the community as well. So I'm not sure if the,
Counselor, I did reach out on that, and this would still go in front of site plan,
yeah,
which Nick, our engineer, who's very diligent in making sure that water coming in and going out, wastewater specifically, is adequate, and the property can handle it. So that would be going in front of him, and I know that he would not be signing off on any final approvals without that. So I felt confident, and again, certainly, I think all of your concerns are valid, but I would feel confident that anything new happening in our city, especially with the team that we have, they're very good. And actually, you get a lot of questions and comments from potential builders that they're too good, because they require an excess amount sometimes, because they want to make sure that when you're bringing water in, you have enough, you're bringing gas in, you have enough, and when it's going out, that it's going to be adequate, not just for that property, but everyone that's in front of them and behind them. So I feel good about that piece.
Yeah, one other thing, we did have BLW, that's our engineering company, that is going to scope the line. That will be another part of this. So we'll actually put a camera down the line to see if there's any. Sometimes what we found at the last nursing home we did, that we had got grease in some of the drainage lines, even though they have like grease traps, because they had a commercial kitchen. So we had to actually jet that out, and that was what was causing the backup. So we'll camera the line out to the pump house and see if we find anything. It could be as simple as just jetting the line, and because there could be some grease built up.
Thank you. Council Novoselsky.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Welcome again. I have several points I'd like to bring out. First of all, I have a big why. Why do you have to build a fourth floor to make 71 units?
Well, a lot of it's like the economics of the project, involves the economics of the project. To try to have that fourth floor is really necessary to make the project, worth doing.
Why couldn't you do 54 units?
It just doesn't work from an economic standpoint.
No. Anyway, okay, I was just looking for an answer for that. Relating to the Waite parking area.
Yes.
Now, realize too, I don't know if you knew that, that used to belong to the city of Revere.
It did.
Okay. Used to be a school there, the Waite School. And we sold it to the Anmark when they started and they needed more parking. But in looking at the lot, two things. I like the way the cars are facing and looking at the city map. There's homes on the north side of that parking lot where those, I guess those dead trees are. Is that where those dead trees are?
Yeah, there's homes on both sides, so there's like homes on the north.
Well, I'm looking mostly at the north side and the east side because the west side is Salem Street.
Yeah, the Waite Park side, and then there's the
Right,
Salem Street
okay.
that don't have.
So, two things on that. Number one, I would like to make sure that the side yard and rear yard, if you want to call it, distances are by city ordinance, whether it's 10 feet. And then I would like to make sure that there is a fence there, that the lights from the cars, when they park their cars, don't go into those homes on the next street over. I don't know.
Like a privacy fence?
Yeah,
Or like
yeah.
a vinyl fence or something?
Yeah.
that
So,
makes
yeah,
sense.
on the parking lot, on the north side and the east side specific, because that's where the homes are, looking at the Google map I'm looking at now.
Yep.
So I would like to see that. And I would like to see, along Salem Street, there's a sidewalk there. I'd like to see some more trees put on that sidewalk
On the Salem Street.
between, the street between the park and the building. What's that street name in the middle?
Waite Park? Waite
Is that Waite Street?
Park? Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I would like, mostly at the park itself, where the parking lot side, along Salem Street, 3 or 4 trees.
Yeah, we
Put
can
along
include
that.
that in the new landscaping plan. We'll
Okay.
put that in.
And also, it looks like you have a walkway going from the main part of it over to the parking lot. I'd like to see a crosswalk there.
Okay.
Painted on the ground and maintained on a regular basis as it wears out. We'd like to see that. So headlight protection, you got the trash, the trees. Other than that, I'm looking out, I'm a ward council, like Council Serino's not here, but, I know how people feel and I know what they're already concerned about. And those are the things that I have run into in my neighborhood when it comes to a parking lot, that the headlights at night. And one other thing, are there any actual, streetlights in the park?
Right now,
in the
there are,
parking
yeah.
area? Are you
Yes.
gonna put some in?
Yeah, there has to be, yeah, of course.
Okay, specifically at the crossing areas,
Okay.
make sure that those are lit up so people crossing that Waite Street would be protected going out there. So that's my input, Mr. Chairman, and I know you have to go back to site plan review, and I don't know if we're voting on this tonight.
Well, with Council Serino not here, and there's a lot of, if I could just bring a few things up.
Sure.
I would want to bring this to at least one more meeting, only because Mr. Vanu has been seems to be very amenable to a lot of the questions we have, but there's been a lot of maybes and possibly, and I would want to make sure that we have these as in stone. Council Serino has something he'd like to be read into the record on some of his conditions, but before I got to Council Serino's, I just wanted to, you said, you You made a mistake. You said my starting point is 2 units, so I'm very much, I think that you've done a really, I want to commend you. We have done some homework on what you've done so far in the neighboring towns, and you've done a really nice job. You know, something that definitely perked my interest the most was the affordability, percentage of affordability, where we haven't seen a lot of that in Riviera, and there's definitely a need for it. And when we say affordability, we're not talking about giving away housing stock, and you're not going to be giving anything away, but certainly you can make it more affordable for someone, like Councilor Visconti mentioned, a veteran, a senior, a new resident, a young resident, people that work in our community. So I was hoping that I'd like to get you to 10%. I don't know if that's possible. If you can go back, work the numbers, if you can get to 10%, that would be 7.1 units. So I'll even say it's 9.8. If you can get to 7 or 8 units, I would be happy with that. That would be good for me. If you can go back, talk with your team, and see if all of these different additions from our council are something that you can swing, because I know that you have to get financing for it, and you have to be able to swing the project. You can't just say yes to everything. And see where we can get back on the list of conditions. I would feel very good about that. I'm not a mortgage, Councilor Visconti knows mortgages. 80% is pretty standard, I know, so I don't really know how that works completely. I would trust you, Councilor, and
Excuse me.
the 80% AMI. I felt like that was pretty standard.
Yeah, it's just, it brings the, correct me if I'm wrong, at 80% AMI, that brings the, for a 1 unit, approximately at about $203,000. 70 brings it to about 169.
Yeah.
I'm looking, trying to bring it down to help. You
Sure.
gotta understand, these veterans and some of these young professionals that are just coming out of college aren't making a lot of money. And I'd like to see that and try to attract those type of first-time home buyers. It would be great to get to that 10% mark, to be honest with you, and then separate that number, that 7 or 8 numbers throughout seniors, veterans, as well as just affordability, separating 2 or 3, so forth, and making that those restrictions there. So, I'm more on the line of the 7 to 8 units, since if this project goes forward and you're adding a floor, well, you're adding 17 more units. So, which I think where you're adding 17 more units, asking for 7 is not, 7 or 8 is not asking for too much.
Right.
Thank you.
So those would be the big ask from myself and our council. Again, you're gonna have to go back to your team and figure out what you can actually fully do. And I know Councilor Serino, if you could read in his comments to the record, and then what we'll do is I'd like to then table this until the meeting, which is probably gonna be that first week in April.
Okay, that works.
Also read the conditions from site plan review into the record at this meeting as well.
You can read the conditions in site plan review at the following meeting.
Okay.
I think everyone's read them. And also, if you can make sure you provide everyone with a copy of provide the clerk with a copy of the traffic report. But so if you can read those into the record, Council Serino's.
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman, Joanne.
Council McKenna.
Hi. Can he also provide the shadow study to us, please?
Yeah, I'll send this presentation.
Thank you.
Okay. Madam Clerk.
This letter is from Councilor Serino. Please forgive my absence at tonight's meeting due to feeling under the weather. However, because the second item on the agenda of tonight's subcommittee meeting is relative to the redevelopment of 133 Salem Street is in Ward 6, I wanted to offer my thoughts and some comments for your consideration. If I were in attendance, I would be supporting the application of Broadway Capital for this special permit. Over the past couple of months, Broadway Capital has engaged residents of North Revere, hosting 2 neighborhood meetings. At the latest meeting, which was held last week, Broadway Capital addressed the concerns that the neighbors and abutters had brought up during the first neighborhood meeting and the subsequent public hearing before our City Council meeting on March 7th. I believe the presentation Broadway Capital will be given tonight is the same information that was relayed to residents at last Tuesday's neighborhood meeting. Although there were some concerns from residents regarding the possible shadow, noise from generators, HVAC units, and dumpster care, I believe these concerns have been mitigated to the best of the applicant's ability, and the applicant has provided explanations and solutions to ease concerns, as you will hear tonight. The main elephant in the room that residents have expressed with regard to concern of this redevelopment is the fear of increase in traffic on Salem Street. As the ward councilor, I can attest that traffic on Salem Street is not only bad, but that as a city, we need to try to find ways to alleviate the bottleneck. Unfortunately, Salem Street is a thoroughway for regional traffic to Saugus and Lynn for people seeking to avoid sitting in Route 1 traffic jams. However, there are things Revere can do to separate from this proposal to help alleviate some of this congestion. As was discussed in our meeting with North Revere residents last week, city officials need to hold Overlook Ridge accountable for their commitments to transportation improvements, and I intend to do that as the ward councilor by introducing a motion next week to try to compel Overlook to move swiftly on access to Route 1 through the Overlook Ridge property, as well as constructing the signalized intersection at Overlook Ridge Drive and Salem Street. Both of these enhancements will have a tremendously positive impact on traffic flow on Salem Street and will help to improve the quality of life for our residents who live in North Revere. This may not seem to have much to do with the application before our subcommittee meeting tonight, but it is part and parcel as to why residents of North Revere feel apprehensive to such a redevelopment. Also, with Broadway Capital, there may be opportunities for the owners of 133 Salem Street to also step up to help mitigate some of the Salem Street congestion conundrum. In closing, two specific requests I have of the zoning subcommittee are that if this special permit is approved, that one, language be included to ensure these residential units are condominiums, and two, the residents who live at 133 Salem Street not be entitled to Revere resident parking stickers by including this property in our resident parking ordinance. Thank you for your consideration. Councilor Richard J. Serino.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Before I close, I did recognize there was a resident in the audience. I'm not sure if you wish to speak on this project or if you're just here as a guest, but feel free to come on up. Didn't want to leave you out. I know you're a neighbor of the proposed site.
My name's George Wolf, and I live at 109 Salem Street. First off, I'd like to say that I'd like to commend the prospective developer. He has been responsive. He has answered a lot of our questions. I still maintain that 72 units is too many. And the traffic study looks pretty good, but I can't believe it. I really can't. First off, you know, when you look through it, they have Wade Court down. It should be Wade Park, so they don't even have the right street name down. But that's neither here nor there. But their traffic study was done when the only traffic on Wade Court was the actual tenants, not these 82 cars that are going to be there. Now, Wade Park is a small street, and it's emptying onto Salem, which is not a big street, but it is two-way, and it is heavily trafficked, especially during the morning and afternoon rush. According to this study, the people from Wade Park that were leaving, a majority of them went back towards Malden, which is the worst case because you got to cross two lanes. Now, you add 80 cars with the potential to be doing the same. Now, the 80 cars are going to be coming out of the parking lot onto Wade Park. You're going to have a queuing problem right there. In here, it said something, they're estimating 6 seconds. I live the next 2 driveways down at 109, and I'm telling you, I wait minutes to try to make it across. Part of the problem is the speed limit. You know, you're coming around a sharp curve there, and it's 20 miles an hour. there's nobody, including myself, I have to admit, is going 20. And you're coming up a hill, and to try to time making a left turn there, watching this car and watching this car, it's hard. Now, adding these 80 cars is more, to me, it's gonna be a big impact. They kind of minimize it in here, but, you know, I'm not the expert. All I can tell you is what I see there and what I can see happening if you get 10 cars trying to take a left turn at 8 o'clock in the morning on the Salem Street. A couple of other things that they did, I like what they're proposing for the bike path entrance, because we're a small development next door, and we can't afford to have 70 tenants from the building next door cutting through our property to get to the bike path. And there's really no openings for that to happen. But the thing I see with their plan is at the end of Wade Park is the road dead ends, and then the city has an access road down to the pump station, which goes right behind my house, and which is in terrible condition, by the way. Nothing. But but to go straight onto the bike path from there, there's over the course of time, stumps and concrete debris and all kinds of stuff has been dumped there. And I don't know who actually owns the bike path, whether the city owns it or whether the MBTA or the trains own it. So I don't know whether that would be an issue.
The bike path's mostly funded through, the city maintains their side, mostly funded through grant funding, but we have a department that, community development that helps manage that.
Well, they want to put in a nice ramp and stairways down, but, you know, they're going to have to get permission from someone, whether it's from you or, but as an alternate to that, and to save them maybe time and money, if they go straight down Salem Street on the sidewalk, I believe the park right there across from Overlook, I believe that's public access there. And you can get right onto the bike path from there on a nice paved path, and that might solve your issue in the spirit of cooperation. The parking lot at the community meeting, they mentioned something that I'm sure is going to be looked at by your other planning people and the environmental people that go look at the trees. Something about a creek or some wetland back there that may have to be looked at. But to me, if you're going to go up a fourth floor, the third and fourth floor of those buildings offer a spectacular view, panoramic of the whole marsh. It's really nice. I mean, I've got not as good as my view because I'm right, looking right at it from the lowest level. But to me, if they could look at maybe increasing the size of some of the marsh-facing units on the third and fourth floors, they could cut down on the number of units, which would make me happy. You know, they could offer more amenities into those bigger units. Instead of all their units have one bath, they could put in a bath and a half, or bigger bedrooms, better windows, or whatever. But I really would like to see something more. Something's going to have to happen on that Wade Park entrance and onto Salem Street. And I still would like to see, you know, less units there. But like I said, they have been very responsive to the community.
It's good to hear. It's good to know, and we appreciate you coming up here. With all of the comments from the councilors, as mentioned, and some of the residents, and I know that a lot of the questions and comments and concerns have been responded to very well. I'd like to take these matters, regroup, see what the developer can come back on. I would suggest your, best and final for the next meeting, the next zoning subcommittee meeting. See what you can do that will, serve everybody. I had my notes from the first meeting, as I mentioned. Primarily, all of them have been answered. I mean, we always get most nervous about parking, and of course, we always take traffic into consideration. But traffic, as we know, and Council Serino pointed it out greatly, if you put a Starbucks at that property, it would be 100 times worse than 100-unit development. So we know that sometimes there's a great myth with apartments and traffic, but the report did look very favorable. I have to trust it when I read an engineer's report on traffic studies. And there was very minimal impact because 10 people at a time don't leave at the same time. We know that. But it's not going to help the traffic in the area. The only thing that would help the traffic in the area is if we left the entire property vacant. And even that wouldn't help the traffic because it'd still be a mess. So I think you've done a pretty good job up to this, but I'd like to see the best and final come back with all of the potential amendments and changes to your proposal, and then I think the council will have enough information to make a good decision. With that, we'll motion to table. And that concludes our zoning subcommittee meeting this evening, and I believe the next zoning subcommittee meeting will be the first Monday of April.
There's already legislative affairs scheduled for the 4th, but there's no regular meeting, so you can either do it on the 11th where there's a meeting, or...
We can do it on the 11th. Thank you. Motion to adjourn.